The right to vote is the basis of our nation's democracy. In fact, voting during elections is the only time in which every American citizen is truly equal to one another, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, social class, ability, etc.
First to say, obviously I teach AP government, but I feel like voting is such an important right.
The right to vote is inherent to our democracy.
I just think that's a fundamental right as a citizen of the United States. We fought for those rights for a long time, so I think
Unfortunately, there's still a huge group of people who don't get to exercise this basic right, an estimated 6,100,000 felons. This is called felony disenfranchisement. So why is it an issue?
Clearly, there's no question that there is a great disproportion, great disparity in the rates of incarceration.
1.8% of the non-African American voting age population is disenfranchised, while a whopping 7.4% of the African American voting age population is disenfranchised.
This is a big issue of racial justice because of the racial disproportionate impact of this type of policy.
Today, 2.5% of the total U.S. population is disenfranchised. To put that into perspective with the drastic rise in incarceration rates, in 1987 there would have been 12,500 disenfranchised Americans. Today, that number is 6,100,000.
this is a huge group of people, mostly people with not a lot of money, people of color who don't have a voice.
One would assume that the federal government would take action, but it's actually not up to them.
There can be voting rights acts that are passed to try to do certain things, but generally speaking, voting and who gets a vote is a state right.
As of 2019, the states with no restrictions on felon voting only include Maine and Vermont. States that disenfranchise felons only while they serve their sentence are Colorado, Florida, Hawaii, Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Montana, New Hampshire, New Jersey, North Dakota, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Utah. In addition to prisoners, some states disenfranchise those on parole, the time during which a prisoner is reintegrated into society after completing their sentence. These states include California, Connecticut, and New York. Many states disenfranchise those incarcerated, those on parole, and those on probation, which is a period of time that a judge may grant a defendant so that they may prove that they do not need to go to jail. It's essentially an opportunity for the defendant to prove themselves capable of being a good citizen in hopes of avoiding any sentencing. These states include Alaska, Arkansas, Georgia, Idaho, Kansas, Louisiana, Minnesota, Missouri, New Mexico, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Texas, Washington, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. But of course, many argue that felons shouldn't vote because, well, they're felons.
I don't know any reasonable person who looks at our democracy and says the thing we need is more murderers voting.
Additionally, some argue that felons shouldn't be able to vote because they're not allowed to carry a gun. Actually, these arguments don't accurately address the entirety of the disenfranchised population.
People with a criminal history are not very different than most of us, right? We would like to think that they are fundamentally different, but not really.
Once a felon has served their time and are readmitted into society, it seems very punitive to continue the punishment about voting.
If you've ever been to a prison, it's not a nice place. You're away from your family. You wear a number, right? So that's supposed to be the punishment. You're not supposed to have, we don't get to add on additional punishments, but we do all the time.
As for our safety, it's been proven that ex-felons who vote are half as likely to be reoffended. This means that reenfranchisement could actually strengthen our nation as a whole and make it a safer place for everyone.
If just punishment is all we're after, and we're not concerned about public safety and rehabilitation, then we have the perfect system. But if we want better outcomes, people coming out of prison and leading law-abiding, successful lives, then we really need to change things.
While it may not be easy, change is definitely possible, and it's up to our future government leaders to further equalize our nation. Our country is the exemplar of political evolution, so why not keep the legacy going?